belonging. Family is God's idea. Today in part 10, I want to talk to you about agreeing in marriage. Part 10. The very first thing a husband and wife must agree on is their difference. Man and a woman is different. Mentally, intellectually, emotionally, physically, behaviorally. Is that a word? I think I found it in the dictionary. Relationally, intuitively, analytically, parentally. That's a lot of differences. Do you understand that between a man and a woman? Agree not to try to change each other, but to complement each other. There's a high possibility that you can find agreement when you look at each other as a complement instead of a difference. Because none of us are, in a sense, complete. We need to be complemented by each other. Neither husband or wife in their differences are right or wrong. Even though many times in marriage, we tend to think one is right and the other is wrong, that's not the case. And learning from each other is crucial to the relationship. Take, for instance, a woman talks about their feelings, while a man just wants to fix the problem. You know, a woman will start to talk, and they'll tell you a whole lot of things about their feeling. And while they're talking, the man is thinking, here's how I'm going to fix that. And then when she's done and you try to fix the problem, the woman tells you, I wasn't asking you to fix it. Just wanted to get it off my chest. How do you like that? Listen to me, a woman has feelings, lots of feelings. You know, my wife, for instance, I can remember too many times to count. Maybe I did her injustice, but I'll make it up one day. You know how many times in the past in our marriages, my wife would say to me, you know, darling, I just would like to go on the dock out there, one of those docks, one of those piers out there, and just lay down for hours and look at the stars. And I'm just thinking, what in the world? On the dock, lying down with my head looking at the stars. I just can't picture it. That's a woman sharing her feelings. A woman can process many things all at once, and she tries to make the man do many things all at once, and there's a problem. Because you see, a woman can be cooking, and a woman can be sweeping, and a woman can be washing, and a woman can also be talking all at the same time, and nothing crashes. But then a man goes out and starts to wash the golf cart, and that's all he can do at one time. However, he's washing the golf cart, and the woman pops the head through the door and said, honey, the frame on the wall just crashed down because the screw broke loose. And the husband says to himself, and maybe to the wife, can't you save that for another time? Don't you see I'm washing the golf cart? And the wife can't understand that, because if the wife was washing the golf cart, she would also be cleaning the gravel on the ground, and she would be talking to the dog and all of that, while the man can only do one thing. And if he tries to do anything more than that at the same time, the mind freezes. God made it that way. There are huge differences between a man and a woman. A woman can have an emotional release at any time. You know how long it took me? I've been married 34 years. You know how long it took me to understand deep within my being that not every time my wife cries, I am the problem? Because many years I thought so. I wasn't a godly man all my life. I'm now a preacher and I'm straight as you can get them. But I wasn't always this way. And so I did a lot of injustice to my wife, and I had a lot of regrets and guilt. And so every time my wife would have an emotional release, there would go again. What did I do this time? But I did nothing. Women just have to vent sometimes. While a man never seems to have to vent their emotion at all. They seems to be emotionless. One of the kids get hurt and the wife is crying. And the wife thinks the man should be crying also. And the man, he's there to help, but why cry? A woman takes her sweet time in everything she does, while a man tends to do everything as quickly as possible. My wife and I would go and sit in a restaurant and have a nice meal. And by the time I put the last piece of meat in my mouth, I'm getting up already. My wife would say, but my juice is just halfway in the cup. I said, sorry, I didn't realize that. And truthfully, I didn't. All I know is that I just ate my last piece of meat. And then they bring the bill, and I couldn't care less because I'll check it later. Maybe. But my wife will hold the bill, and she just have to look at every single thing and make sure that that waiter did not put some of the bill from the person beside us, because it's going to be hot water. A woman can hold a grudge for a very long time. That's why in a house you see sofas. Because when a woman holds a grudge, they're in the bedroom and the man is on the sofa outside. God knows how long. While a man holds a grudge for just a brief moment. A woman always feels like she needs a break, even after just taking a break. Not kidding you. We can just come from a vacation. Boy, I feel like I need another vacation. While a man, they never want a break. I think I'll get a break when I die. Other than that, I love to work. I love to do what I do. Men and women are different. With such huge differences between a man and a woman, there's only one way to make the relationship work. By learning to use the strengths and weaknesses of each other to complement the relationship. Amos chapter 3 and verse 3 says, can two walk together unless they're agreed? That's how important agreement is in marriage. You must reach agreement to be able to walk together. Marriage is a journey. That's what walk suggests. Walk together. Well, may I remind you that it's not a walk in the park. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, it's a walk right next to hell. Because there are fumes always blowing from each other. Nonetheless, we're walking. The second thing. Do you remember the first thing? I'll send you the slides later. The second thing a husband and wife must agree on is making decisions. A couple will make thousands of decisions about their lives together. Some will be small, and some will literally affect the future for good or bad, even for generations to come. That's how important it is to come in agreement concerning making decisions. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12 says, two are better than one. That's what a marriage is always about, two people. It says, because they have a good reward for their labor. If they fall, one will lift up the other. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand the enemy. All these scriptures are not just good reads. They're the truth of God and works beautifully when we apply them to our relationships. I want to give you quickly 3 helpful ways in making decisions. Actually, I think I added 4. Helpful ways in making decisions together. Number one, seek God for direction. Now, if you're not a Christian, then this doesn't apply to you. But if you're a Christian, you should seek God before making a decision. Because God has the panoramic view. God sees the end from the beginning. He knows the obstacles, all the pitfalls along the way. So the first thing we need to do in making decision is to seek God for direction. And you know what? The Bible can give us direction for decisions. After all, for the past 10 weeks, all I've been showing you is what the Bible says. Secondly, when talk about seeking God for direction, our faithfulness to God can help us in making good decisions together. Listen, attending church is not what it's all about. That's good, but it's not all. It's not everything. We have to apply what we learn. We have to learn to become faithful to God. We have to learn to put Him first. God sees these things. Look at what Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, meaning I won't make decisions on my own. I'm going to seek God. In all your ways acknowledge Him. I'm going to do things the way God says to do it. Then it says, and He will direct your path. Thirdly, talking about seeking God for direction, prayer can give us good direction for making decisions together. James chapter 1 verse 5 and 6 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally. If anyone lacks wisdom. Well, that is the case majority of time in marriage, in family. We lack wisdom. We need help. We don't know the direction to take with certain things. The Bible says, let us ask of God. How do we ask of God? In prayer. You know, prayer is not what man has made it to be. I tell you, some religion teaches today that when you start to pray, you have to change your voice just so that it sounds holy. Some people, when they pray, they change their voice and they pick up a deep voice just so that it sounds holy as I pray. That's not prayer. Have you ever talked to anybody before? Do you have a friend that you ever talked to? Do you know that's what prayer is? You talk to God as a friend. That's prayer. You don't change your voice. You don't go wash your face and get serious about the whole thing. He is your friend through the blood of Jesus. You approach Him like a friend. You talk to Him what's on your heart, and He'll share with you what's on His heart. But ask God. That's the best way to make decision. So number one, seek God for direction in making decisions. Number two, seek for agreement with your spouse. What's the first one? Seek God. The second one, seek agreement with your spouse. The Bible teaches that the man is the head of the home. Wives, whether you like it or not, honestly and truthfully, the husband is the head of the home and the wife should submit. So, he should have the last word. The man does. The husband does. Should have the last word. But husbands, whether you like it or not, however, a wise husband will never make a big decision without his wife. So even though the husband is at liberty to have the last word, being a wise husband, you will learn that you never make a big decision without your wife. Why? A wise man remembers that his selfish decisions backfires. And then the blame is on him alone, and it will cause great conflict in the home. Think about how comforting it is to have the agreement of your spouse in a decision. Because if by chance the decision backfires, nobody can point finger at each other because both of us agreed to what we were going to do. But God helped the person, whether it's the wife or the husband, that made the decision alone. Because if by chance it backfires, you're in trouble. I can guarantee you your spouse is going to hold it in your face for a while. Make decisions in the home, or making decisions in the home is not about who is in charge. Please listen carefully. Making decisions in the home is not about who is in charge or who is right or wrong. Because at any given time, either can be right or wrong. It's not about being right or wrong or who is in charge. It is about, will this decision benefit the whole family? Now you think about that, husband. Think about that, wife. If when you're going to make a significant decision, you bear in mind it is about the benefit of the entire family, this will almost always guide you to make the right decision. Because most oftentimes, decisions are made selfishly. But when we put it in context, the family in context, and we make a decision based on the benefit of the entire family, almost always it's going to be right. Husbands, I'm one. I'm not putting you on the hook here. A husband may be able to force his wife to submit to his decision, but only the wife can submit her will. You know, it's like a mother with a very rebellious little child, the story is said. And the child just gave the mom a hard time all the time. But because the child is a child, the mom would forcibly reprimand the child and said, sit your butt down. I said, or else. And the child sits down on the chair, but on the inside, the child is standing up. Did you get that? The child didn't submit the will. He submitted on the force, and so it is with the wife. A husband may be able to force a wife to submit to his decision, but he can't force the wife to submit the will. And there's something to remember. Every time force is applied when it's not necessary, it creates rebellion and strife. Every single time. So agreeing in marriage is not about force. It's about really trying to find what will be of benefit to the whole family. People make decisions based on facts or feelings. Again, facts can be a safer way to make decisions, but facts are not always available when a decision is made. Sometimes a decision has to be reached very quickly. And if you're waiting on facts, you're going to mess things up. Equally, emotions can be dangerous in decision making, but emotions many times can be fed by intuition, which can lead to right decision. What is intuition? Having an understanding before you even get into the situation. You feel it, you know it on the inside. It's called a gut feeling. Not every time a gut feeling is right, but you have to know when, and that's why we use each other's strengths and weaknesses. Because making decisions by fact can be good and bad, and making decisions by emotions can be good and bad. At certain times, one will be better than the other, and at certain times, the reverse. The other will be better than the other one. Avoid making decisions based on the wrong reasons. You know, people can make decisions for the wrong reasons. We often do. 1 Samuel chapter 8 verse 4 and 5 says, Then all the leaders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, Look, you're old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Listen. Now make us a king to judge us like all other nations. Now, if you go back and read about Samuel, it is true. He was growing old. His eyes was becoming dim. His sons were not walking righteously like they should have. All of that are facts. But did that mean they had to reject God in their decision? In other words, they said, we want a king. Remember now, God was their king. God was leading them, guiding them through prophets and kings. But they came to the place where they saw all their neighbors around them living with an earthly physical king. And so they said, guess what? You're old, your sons do not walk in the way. We want a king just like all the other nation. Well, they needed a king. But was that the right motive? Just because he was getting old and his sons weren't walking righteously? I mean, think about it. When we have wrong motives for decisions, things can go really wrong. Genesis chapter 12, verse 12 through 13 says, therefore it will happen when the Egyptians see you, this is Abraham and Sarah, when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me. But they will let you live. You know, that right there is crazy. Because Abraham is indirectly suggesting, I'd rather they kill you than I live. He says, listen, that they will say, this is my wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say, you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, that I may live because of you. Well, it was a dangerous situation indeed, because these pagan kings were, they had harems, and there was never enough women for them to have and to sleep with. And so Abraham knew that, and Abraham was just thinking, you know what? They might just kill me. That's a fact. That was reality. But did he have to make the decision of jeopardizing his wife's life just so that he could live? So we have to be careful not to make decision based on wrong reason. And you know what? One wrong reason we can do in making decisions in the home for the wrong reason? Taking revenge. You know, sometimes your husband did you something, your wife did you something, and because the opportunity now comes and you can make a decision, you don't tell her, you don't tell him, but you know that you're going to make this selfish decision because I'm getting revenge on her. I'm getting revenge on him. It's always disastrous. We have to be careful not to make decisions based on wrong reasons. The third thing a husband and wife must agree on is making decisions based on priorities. That's a huge guideline because there are always priorities in marriage. By doing this, you will always have what you need. If you make decisions based on priorities in the family, in your relationship, you will always have what you need. Many decisions in a couple's life are based on wants and not needs. A need is a priority that will benefit the whole family. A want is a temporal comfort that will benefit self. Many conflicts happen in marriage over wants, not needs. When there is a true need in the home and a decision has to be made, even if husband and wife do not agree in making the decision, but the family needs the result of that decision, it is more than likely that there won't be a conflict. But it is when decisions are based on wants, it suggests that there is a personal gain looking at, and it can bring conflict in the marriage. If a person's highest priority is the way they look, they will buy nice clothes instead of things that the home needs. Isn't that reality? Isn't that truth? I mean, if your eyes are on self and it's a must that you look spiffy, check that in Collins Dictionary, and you have to look good at any cost, it's going to take away from the needs of the home. That's not priority. The home is priority. If a person's highest priority is pleasure, they will spend much time and money seeking fun instead of framing a future. And there's a future. There's tomorrow. And there's tomorrow. And if all we think about is the pleasures of now, we are canceling out the future that will come. Thirdly, if a person's highest priority is their career, They will spend much more time seeking success instead of building their family life. And brother, I wish I could tell you this one isn't true, but it is. Do you know how many kids today are neglected? Do you know how many kids today are abandoned? Not because they must, but because the parent or the parents seek to excel in a career, wanting to feel good and successful, and the kids are neglected and abandoned, and later the price is paid. So it's good to make decisions in the home based on priorities and not just wants that you may have. At times, husbands and wives may have different priorities. If their highest priorities are not the same, it will hinder their ability to agree on decisions. Both should seek to grow closer together in the priorities of marriage. The fourth thing a husband and wife must agree on is committing to a decision after making a decision. I'm getting ready to close. Many times we make a decision and things didn't go well and we back out from it because it didn't have the expected result. But that's not a person of integrity. When we make decisions together, we stick with the decision whether the result was desirable or not desirable. Listen to what the Bible says in Exodus chapter 14, verse 11 and 12. It says, then Moses said, they said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? Now, if you go back and you read the story, the people agreed for freedom. They wanted their freedom. They prayed about their freedom. They were glad when God sent a deliverer to bring them out of bondage into the promised land. But unfortunately, along the way, there were challenges and obstacles. There were setbacks and pains, unexpected things, and they became bitter, and they started to judge and condemn Moses and said, you mean there weren't graves in Egypt? Why you brought us out here in the desert, hot sun, to die and just be left in the sun? So, as husbands and wives, at times we can agree together because we have great expectations. But not all the times, even when agreeing together, not all the times things will work out the way we expected them to. When it didn't, what do? Is it time to run? Is it time to back off? Is it time to judge each other? Is it time to find a fuss and a fight? Well, that would be an instinct. But the truth is, we should stick out the decision together because we made the decision together.